So I have spent much of the summer traveling across Ukraine and also last week between Lviv, Kyiv, including Bucha and Irpin, and Kharkiv, especially interesting in light of the successful Ukrainian counteroffensive. And there are 5 takeaways that I would like to share today. The first one is that there's a sustained fight for normalcy in Ukraine. That is, Ukrainians want to go about their lives with dignity. As many people were telling me, we have no fear, unlike February. Let me give you 2 examples. If you go to some of the places that were hit last week with Russian missiles in Kyiv, including the Shevchenko Park in central Kyiv, it's fascinating the way the Ukrainians have fixed most of the damage and made it anew, partly. So Ukrainians mourn, remember, and go on. Then maybe the second example is connectivity. Trains in Ukraine function as good as in peacetime. And this is an amazing work by the public railway company, Uk-Selesnitsa. So there's a lot of resilience. And I think that Russia will fail in its objective to terrorize the Ukrainian population. But no doubt these strikes are creating significant damage. And this is why it's important to step up the support of air defense and support in general. The second takeaway is definitely that there's a strong social fabric in Ukraine. You go to Kharkiv and you find people who were one-day actors or businessmen. Now they have become volunteers and activists. Most people are doing something for someone. And that's very telling about Ukrainians, where moral and civil leadership are not top to bottom, but they're oftentimes bottom up. So you find that with people, giving books to kids in Kharkiv region, or giving cars and winter clothes for the military. Everyone, or almost everyone, is doing something for someone. Now, the third takeaway is that reforms are going forward, and this is something that shouldn't be losing sight of, because Ukraine is now an EU candidate country, and ever since the Maidan Revolution, with ups and downs, the country has been making a step change in reforms, and that is democratization and modernization of Ukraine. There's progress in the judicial sector reform, and this is something that should be encouraged. Fourth takeaway, no doubt there's a lot of trauma. As a friend was telling me, Facebook is full of obituaries. Ukrainians are losing some of their finest members of the current generation. And this is why any path for peace should have a strong element of justice and accountability for the crimes that Russia is committing in Ukraine, including the deportation of Ukrainian children. So maybe my final point is that this is not normal. You have a permanent member of the UN Security Council, a nuclear country, inflicting World War II sort of damage on a non-nuclear neighbor country. And that includes everything from the deportations that I mentioned to sustained war crimes. And now they're attempting, with these attacks on the infrastructure, they're attempting to create what some Ukrainians are referring to as Holodomor, sort of war reference to the Stalinist famines, but now death for cold. This is something that it's wrong. Let me give you 2 final examples. Schools need to have now shelters for protection against bombings. And if you walk across the border from Ukraine to Poland, you realize that NATO is clear skies with no missiles and drones, whereas no-NATO is clear skies with missiles and drones. Maybe to conclude with a reference that I've seen in the streets of Kharkiv, that ми знижаємо з кожною втратою. We get stronger with every loss.